welcome this morning, and thank you to everyone for joining in the session today. It's a real pleasure for me to be able to work with everybody there today, and as we said, really look at the idea of celebrating teacher creativity. As our two examples there show, as teachers, we're always developing as well. We're always thinking of new opportunities in the classroom, and thank you so much for the teachers that shared with us this morning. Just a little bit of additional background to myself. As Anand said, I am a professional learning specialist in the UK. I work with schools across the region, but I'm also a senior lecturer at the university where I work with our pre-service teachers to help them develop their understanding of the use of technology in the classroom. I've had the great pleasure of doing a few of these sessions now with schools, and it's amazing to see that the way that teachers have responded, I suppose, to a pandemic, and how upbeat everyone is about, still trying things out in their classrooms, still trying things out online, and etc. So I just wanted to sort of again extend that thank you to you for everything that you're doing for your students as well. The agenda for the rest of the session today, then, we're going to be taking a deeper dive into Apple Teacher Portfolio, taking a look at those possibilities from a reflection point of view. So today's session is not about new learning, new applications. It's about pausing where we are, potentially thinking about how we might go deeper with some of the applications that you learn within the Apple Teacher program itself, but thinking about how we can utilize them to best activate prior learning for students, support students with their exploration of new content, and then provide them new opportunities to apply that content in new ways going forward. So we're going to take you through just one example really of what this might look like, to then helpfully just scaffold what that might look like for you, for your subject area, or for the age that you teach. We're also going to be going a little bit further, thinking about what additional opportunities are available. We want to think about how we can use creativity to explore critical thinking and problem solving. So again, how do we utilize these skills in a deeper and more meaningful way in the classroom with our students? And we want to provide you with some breakout room time to really come together as a group of teachers to really think about how this might look going forward in your teaching. Now, we know, and we've heard already from various teachers this morning, that creativity is really important in the classroom, having students think differently. And when we say creativity, we don't necessarily just mean drawing pictures, making music, or creating videos. It's the creative thinking that goes behind it. As we heard, the group work that sits within that, where students come together to create something. And that collaboration has been really important and challenging this year in terms of, some online and some in the classroom and all of those issues. And how do we use the technology to help us collaborate? And then finally, how do we use technology to help us communicate? How do we support those barriers that are created by distance, but equally the barriers that some students have in the classroom, where they just might struggle to get their knowledge out onto paper and write it down? So what ways can we change how they can communicate their thinking, their understanding to us? And I think, again, the iMovie example was a fantastic example of that, just an alternative way to communicate thinking. And then when we marry that up with these three phases from the Apple Teacher Portfolio, we see that we can break lessons down into these different sections where we think about where the technology is having an impact and what part of learning it's having an impact on. In today's session, we're going to specifically look at activation. So the activities that I share with you today are going to be around activating prior knowledge. So taking a topic and scaffolding learning to enable students to show us what they think they know about the topic. But that then becomes the first phase of three, where you would then develop that thinking through exploration, and then finally allow those students to apply it in new ways. Now, when we think about redefining what learning looks like, and we couple that with the power of the iPad in the classroom, we know that we provide students with a whole range of ways to think differently about what they're doing. We know that using things like Apple Pencil or a stylus or even your finger, we can draw directly onto the device. And that changes one way that we can access. Through drawing or handwriting recognition, we can still change the input method. But then when we think about things like the microphone, we all of a sudden open up possibilities to students that might struggle to get that information down on paper, but have so much in their heads that they want to share with us. So the power of the microphone added to the ability to add text or even videos and photos, really making the learning that they share with us very, very rich. And when we think about when we create resources as educators, we too can create rich, powerful resources that can engage our students in what they're doing. Now we know, and we've heard from those people sharing this morning, that you've gone through the Apple Teacher program. You've started to explore those applications for yourselves, from iMovie that we heard about today, all the way through to Pages as an opportunity to create documents for our learners. But how might we go slightly further with some of these applications? Let's take Pages, for example. Pages is a great tool for doing word processing, but it's equally a great tool for creating templates for learning to help scaffold what students can do in the classroom, allowing them to work independently, if that means working from home whilst we might be teaching them from our own homes, but equally giving them the independence to work in the classroom independently. And then when we marry in those additional elements, potentially Keynote, iMovie, or just the camera, again, we provide opportunity for our students to do something a little bit different than they might have originally done. So I want to walk you through just an example of something that I've created for use in the UK with a Year 2 group of students. And this is all based around plants. And this is just a template that allows the students to demonstrate their learning and knowledge in different ways. So I'm just going to open up this document on my device. If you're familiar with Pages, you'll notice the familiarity of the screen. We have those same icons across the top, etc. And all I've created here is just a document which students would have on their device, allowing them to interact with the information. A bit of background. The original document here was a printout that students were given and asked to go and explore the school grounds to identify the plants that they could see. The original document was printed out in black and white, and as we know, most plants are identified by their colour, so therefore we'd already given a barrier to learners in that way. So providing it on their iPad meant that we could have very media rich colours so that they could identify some of those plants. But then we wanted to take it a little bit further, thinking about the power of the device. Rather than simply ticking that they'd seen those plants, we asked them to actually take photos of the plants that they found themselves. So this page just scaffolds that opportunity for them. By tapping on the plus icon, they can then take a photo of the plants that they found, providing students ownership of their resources. Students are now creating their own documents, but scaffolding it in a way that may. In this example, this is a simple drag and drop activity where we've just used the shapes in Keynote to help students just identify what they think a seed needs in order to grow. But what changed in this application was not only did we ask them to drag and drop those icons into the section, we asked the students to record their reasoning by just adding in their voice. And this changed everything for the students. One student actually ended up giving us a whole description of how Mozart was really important for the growing of plants. Now, whether Mozart is important for growing plants or not, what we established by giving the student the power of adding in their voice was that they had more to tell us that they couldn't show us on the document that we created. So just by simply having a space on a teacher-created resource allows students to tell us more than we might even have asked for in the first place. The booklet goes through the whole kind of phase like this. So again, you'll be familiar probably with science experiments and tracking things like how do we grow plants in different situations to check whether water is important or not. Again, in this case, students were able to take photos of the plants growing themselves and then add their own reflections. Again, they could write them, type them, or add their voice, meaning that they end up with a whole scientific log for themselves, tracking the progress of the plants, rather than the teacher having told us all of this content. So this is their explore phase, simply using the camera, giving them a place to track the information and a place to reflect on it. The final stage is our apply section, where we simply ask them to create a video that gives the information to somebody else about what plants need to grow. This is just a summary of everything they've done throughout the whole of the topic, culminating in a video, similar to the example that we heard earlier from the geography students. The students just simply come together, create a video, and demonstrate all of their knowledge and understanding in a way that really displays what they've learned to both us as the teachers, but equally as a way that we could share this with other people as well. So that's the whole book. That was a whole kind of 6-week topic, all put together into this template. But we're all going to create one now. We're going to create a very, very simple one, just to show the simple process of how these come together. Because you'll agree they look really, really nice. But what you'll notice in the next section is how easy it is to do this. So I'm going to ask everybody now, if you've got your iPads with you, we're going to jump into the Pages application. And I'm going to start a new document, tapping on the plus at the top. And I'm sure you've seen this before through Apple Teacher. You'll know there's a range of themes and templates that you can choose. For this, we're going to use the books landscape because these can then be exported as EPUB. So they're really, really useful for multimedia rich creation. And I'm actually going to use the book at the end, which is under the textbook topic, and select this one. Now you might notice straight away that something looks similar here because the plants book that I created has just used this template. I've simply changed the text here and the picture on this side. So again, lots of the heavy lifting is done for you. Apple have provided us with some lovely templates and we can just adapt these to meet our needs. So I'm just going to go straight to page 2 and start to build a very, very simple activate phase of learning. For the purposes of this, we're going to do the solar system. Now, I appreciate you might not all be teaching the solar system. You might not teach it in your subject or to your age group, but we thought it was something that everyone should have a basic understanding of for the purposes of today. If you do think of something else, though, please do kind of start to think in your head how this might work for your subject. So I said before, this is the activate phase. So I'm just going to change the text here just to highlight this is activating learning. Select the text in this box and just change the title. And then tap on the paintbrush at the top, the format button, just to make the text a little bit smaller so we can see that on the screen. Or you can make the box bigger, either way. Now I don't need the text on this side because I'm going to actually make an interactive resource. I'm not making a book for students to read. I'm going to make something where they can share their learning. So I'm just going to delete that out. But the bullet points here are going to be useful. So I'm just going to move them over to this side of the page. And this is where I'm going to highlight to my students what I want them to show me in their learning. So I've got 3 questions that I want to ask them to activate their prior knowledge of the solar system. I want them to name the planets, order the planets, and then show features of the planets. So size, shape, maybe color. Spell it. And again, because the text doesn't show up very well, I'm just going to change the font color to black so it shows up a little bit better on the screen. And maybe just move that in line with the text to the side. So already in just 2 minutes, I'm starting to create a very, very simple template that my students will be able to use to show me what they know. Now, the next thing I just need to add in is a place for them to show me their learning. So in this case, I'm just going to go to the shapes, grab a box, drag the box across the screen, creating a space for them to demonstrate learning. And in this case, I'm just going to change that box color to black because we're doing this about space. I can give them that background ready to go. So there we go, the most simple template that allows students to activate their knowledge. But one additional thing here that we can do that you can't do just on paper is allow them to record their voice. So I'm going to create a small icon on the page that just highlights to them that I'm asking them to also tell me something about what they've done. So again, if I tap on the plus, I'll choose a shape, drag that into the corner. And if I search for shapes, I can find an audio button. Just going to change the color. I'm just going to place that here. Just identifying to my students that once you've created your image or whatever it is you're going to create, you can also record your voice to tell me some information about what you've learned. So in just 5 minutes, I've created one page of what could potentially be a whole booklet where students can show their learning over time. In this case, we're just asking them to activate their knowledge, but then they can use this as they go through. So I'm just going to pause for a second, let everybody have a go at completing their document. It doesn't have to be the same colors, etc. And you might even have gone and done it for a different topic, but just have a play around with those. And if you have any questions at all, please do feel free to just pop them in the chat window, and I'll be more than happy to help anybody if there's any questions around the build. Now, like I said, if you're not teaching the solar system, you can create this. It's very easy, just change the text. It could be life cycle of an animal. It could be something to do with sport. It could be geography. You know, you simply just can change, once you've created this as a simple template, change the text, change what the questions are that you're asking students to demonstrate. And again, you have a simple template for students to utilize. Okay. So hopefully that all makes sense. And you'll notice here, like I said before, that plants book was based on exactly the same thing. I just changed some of the colors around and just again played around with some of the layout. So this page here is exactly the same page as you were working on before. I've just moved boxes around on the page to provide a place for students to learn. Okay, so how does that fit in then with our Apple Teacher portfolio? As Anna said, the Apple Teacher portfolio allows us to reflect on our learning, to think about what we've created for our students and the impact it has in the classroom for them. Here's that example that I just created, and this is how that fits into the Apple Teacher portfolio. Within the portfolio itself, you have 2 pages that you complete per lesson. This is that Activate lesson. And in this example, I've just simply highlighted what the lesson is about, who it's for, and the idea why I'm using the technology. So what am I hoping the technology will allow students to do? I've then also provided an example, but my example of what I would expect the students to create. This comes before I teach it as an idea of what I would expect to see them create. Once you've done that, that's part one of the Apple Teacher Portfolio complete. The next part is you'd obviously go and create this then with your students. So I'm just going to pause again for a moment and just make you think, how might you use this in your curriculum area? That simple idea of creating a simple template to allow students to demonstrate knowledge and understanding. If you feel free to share those in the chat window if anything comes to mind, but we're only going to pause just for a minute just to have those in your head, because we'll probably reflect on these later in the breakout room sessions as well. Okay, so the next phase then, and I'm going to ask you to be my students for this, is what might students actually create as a result? So they've been given the task to show us what they know about the solar system, but they might not choose to do this in the same way as I expected. They might make a movie, they might make an animation, they might just draw a picture, or they could just record their voice. Let's take a look at how they could do this if they wanted to do animation. This is a very simple Keynote animation showing the order of the planets. And we could do something even more by using some motion graphics to really bring this to life for our learners. In this example, you can see the planets starting to orbit around the sun. In this example, this is done exactly the same, but this time using drawings in order to demonstrate knowledge and understanding. And what this does for students is allows them to go a little bit further with their creativity, because they can actually start to explain each individual planet whilst they're in motion. But some students might go even further and explore the different speeds of orbit and actually play around with the animation to try and show a really factual example of how the planets orbit around the sun. So I'm going to ask you to have a go now. I'm going to set you a little bit of a challenge. We're going to build our own in Keynote. So if you want to jump into Keynote on your devices and start a new presentation, I'll just go back and start a new presentation, choose a theme. Now, because we're not actually using this as a presentation tool, we're using it as an animation tool, I'm just going to use the black background because it makes sense if we're doing space. I'll delete out the content. So I just have a plain black background for my space theme. Now, there are two ways that you can add in content on this, or there's a few ways actually, but two ways that we'll focus on today. If I tap on the plus, I can either use the shapes and build with shapes, or if I don't want to use shapes, I can use the drawing tool. Now, you could also import images from the websites, etc., but that's going to take a little bit longer. So today we'll just focus on using just some simple shapes or drawing tools. And we're just going to draw our solar system or use shapes to do our solar system. So I'll start and then you can just join in on your own devices. Just draw. And again, you'll see students have that opportunity to really just play around with their own creativity, thinking about how they want to demonstrate their knowledge. I'm not going to do the whole solar system. I'll just go up to the 5th planet. Earth, a little bit of a... There we go. So there's my very, very basic solar system. I can add in some content. So So there we go. So really, really simple use of Keynote just to do some drawing in this case. But again, you might have used the shapes to create these. And then the challenge here is, once you've created them, how do we bring this to life? So if you've just got one planet at the moment, that's great. I'm going to use the select tool here to just grab my first planet, separate these from the others. And then when I tap on that again, I'll have the options to animate and choose this add action. Here I have the option to create a path. And if I just zoom out a little bit, I can just drag that planet and draw its orbit around the sun. That's done. If I just play that, there we go. How quick and easy is that to start to think about orbiting planets? Can be done by any child very, very simply to start to think about orbits around the sun. I'll show the process again. So I'm just going to select the cut tool, select my planet, separate, tap the planet or tap the object, whatever it is that you want to animate, choose animate, choose create path and add action. And then again, I can simply draw the orbit around the sun. There we go. Now I could export this as a movie to iMovie and add a voiceover, or additionally, I could add the voiceover directly in Keynote. But we'll look at that in just a moment. So take just a couple of moments, have a play yourselves, have a play with that animation opportunity. And again, start to think about those opportunities in the subjects that you teach that aren't to do with the solar system. Where else could you utilize the power of this with your students in the classroom? And I can see some nods on the screens. I'm sure people already are thinking how their students would really engage with this as an activity in the classroom as well. And again, if people need any help at all, just jump into the chat window. More than happy to go over things again. And I've done this with drawings. You do exactly the same with shapes. So in fact, just to demonstrate that as that range of choice, because we think choice is a great thing for students. If I just added in a shape now, I know this isn't Saturn, but we'll just show it anyway. Again, I can tap on that shape, find animate, add action, create path. Go out a little bit further for this one because it's got a bigger orbit. So you don't have to do it with drawings. You can also do it with shapes as well. There we go. We've got our planets orbiting. See the final planet as a shape. Now, I mentioned before how students could go even further with this. If you select any of those orbiting planets that you created and select on the path, you can then also change the duration. And this is where students can go really far with their learning. So if they select the duration to be longer, obviously that planet will orbit slower. If they create it to go quicker, the orbit will be faster. Now, students could go off and do research about how long it would take. There's all maths that could be brought into this. So much opportunity for students to just really extend their knowledge. If a student couldn't show me that, or if that wasn't something that they wanted to do, they could tell me that information instead. So by tapping on the plus and going to their media tools and record audio, they can record an audio clip for each of the planets. This is Mercury. Mercury is the first of the planets in the solar system. It goes around the Earth once every, and I'll stop there because I can't remember how quickly it orbits around the Earth. But now they've got that audio button that can just simply sit alongside Mercury to give me that additional information about that planet. So now we've got this really media rich tool. Students can use visuals, can use their voice, can use animation to show me everything they know. And now finally, if they tap on the more and export, they can also export this as a movie. So just by tapping on this, making sure that they've got all of their slides selected. So if they've done more than one slide, in this case we haven't, tap export, and then save this as a video. Now, if we go back to our pages template that we created before, students can simply add this in as an example of their work onto the page. And if we tap play, that animation works completely for them. And then again, they can add their voice in here to tell me anything else they want to tell me about their learning. So a really, really rich resource. There we go. A really rich resource, allowing students to do this in a range of ways, in a range of visual, auditory ways to help us demonstrate or understand what they've learned. So again, I'm just going to pause just for a moment, let people have a bit of a go at that activity. And again, if anybody's got any questions at all or wants to share any thoughts at this point, feel free to raise your hand. Feel free to come off mute if anyone wants to share anything, or feel free to just write them in the chat window. It would be great to hear some of your thoughts and ideas about how this works or could work in your classroom. It's great seeing everybody's cameras on and seeing people busily creating, looking down at their screens and having a go, which is fantastic to see. And hopefully this has inspired people to see. It was lovely seeing sort of the nods as we were going through, as people sort of, I can see people already thinking of those ideas of how they would use it in their subjects. Okay. So, as we said, today's focus is really around the Apple Teacher portfolio, as well as providing some ideas of where you could use some of these things in your classroom. Let's reflect on the impact of this. So like we said, this is an activate phase of learning. This comes at the very start. And once we've added this into our example within the Apple Teacher portfolio, the next phase is to think about how did this work with our students? So the second page in the Apple Teacher portfolio just asks 4 questions for you to think about. What skills did you utilize from Apple Teacher? So personal reflection on your development. How did promoting student creativity enhance learning? So a chance for you to reflect on the impact of this in the classroom. Was it purposeful for some of the students? How did it change the access for some of your learners? How did students demonstrate their learning? In this example, I might have expected students to just create an image, but I might then have seen students demonstrate their learning in a range of ways. And it's a great way to reflect on that process with our students, because sometimes they will, well, sometimes most of the time, students will surprise us with the things that they can do with technology. And then finally, because you have created something which is very powerful and media rich, how did you share it beyond the classroom? Did you have an opportunity to share it back home with mum, dad, grandparents, or other relatives? Did they have a chance to share it with their peers in the school? Did they share it with younger learners as a way to engage and enhance that learning experience throughout the school? Because there are so many opportunities for us to do those when we work with technology in this way. I'll just take a moment now to just bring up that Apple Teacher portfolio, just to show you what this looks like. As Anand said, you can download this off of the Apple Teacher website. You can personalize this to make it your own book. It walks through those phases again and demonstrates how to use the booklet if you've not used it before. And then it gives you an opportunity to recognize where you've started to complete this. Now, as Anand said, this is not something that you just rush through in a day. The purpose is that you create the lesson, you teach the lesson, and then you reflect on the lesson. So it could take up to a year to complete this. There is no rush. In my example, like I said, under the activate phase, that's what I would complete on page 1. I would then teach the lesson, and then I would complete these boxes as a result of doing that. Just thinking about some of those things that have happened as a result. Once that's done, you submit it, and then you would end up with your first badge here, and then you would start your next activity. Doesn't have to be the same topic, doesn't have to be the same subject area, doesn't have to be to the same class, in fact. Just another thing that you've done as a teacher. Okay, so this is the part of the session where we now want to give you some time to have a discussion with each other. We've created some breakout rooms, and we want you to go deeper in this thought process of how you might use these. We know that with 34 people on a call, it's very difficult for everyone to come off mute and share their thoughts. So we thought by having you in smaller groups of 5 or 6, you can come off mute and have that discussion in one of our breakout rooms. We've provided some subject-specific cues to get you to start to think about this, and we've very kindly had some volunteers to run some of the breakout room sessions to just facilitate the conversation. The role of the leader in the breakout room is just to help the conversation flow and to then hopefully feed back to us at the end of the session. We're going to be using Padlet for this. Now, if you've never used Padlet before, it's just a shared space that we can utilize on the internet that will allow us to all see what's going on in each of the rooms. Under resources, we've provided a link which will take you to some subject prompts so that you don't necessarily have to all think of the subject yourselves. You can just choose one of those subjects as your point. And the ask that we're giving you is to think of different ways that you can use technology to activate, explore, and then apply that knowledge. I provided an example here. Under activate, we've looked at the solar system. So we've looked at one of those opportunities. I've then shown an example of what you could do under explore and an example of what you could do under apply. And in each of the breakout room sessions, we're asking you to just recreate that for a topic of your choice. Now, you might want to stick with the solar system and show me what you would do next, but sometimes you might want to just choose a whole new opportunity. And like we said, we've provided some examples in that document for you. So here's just an example of some of those pages. So the first thing we need to do is get everybody into the Padlet space. So if you've got a mobile device, feel free to scan the QR code here. If not, I will put the link into the chat window and you'll be able to grab hold of this as well. Just to quickly. This document. So I'm just going to put the link into the chat window for you. So you can either scan the QR code on your device or follow the link in the chat window as well. So when you're into this, this is what you should see. Like I said, over on this side, you can download those those subject prompts. If you're not sure how to use Padlet in your room, you simply just tap on the plus and then add in the content here. And all we're asking for is just some ideas. So in your breakout room sessions, just have that conversation and then start to add in those ideas in simple text, or some people can add in pictures or examples if they want to. And we've got our 5 rooms all set up ready for you here. So I just need 1 second to just make sure all our breakout rooms are set up correctly. So bear with me. Just need to make sure everybody's in the correct rooms.
In the meantime, Matthew, I think the QR code is taking to the Anita Methodist link. So we can follow the link put up in the chat box.
Yeah, apologies for that. I must have deleted out the wrong one.
No worries. You can either put it up again or maybe we can follow the link in the chat box.
Yeah, either way, I can also just quickly add that up for you here as well. So there we go. So that one on your screen now should take you through to the right one. So apologies for that.
I think if you click on the link, directly will take you to the rooms. If you can just try that. Teachers. The humanities room has been created.
So I've just got a few people that have dropped out of the call and I need to put back into rooms. I'm going to start the breakout rooms now so people can just familiarize themselves with the group that they're working with. Your room leader should be in the room with you already if I've allocated them at this point. And then you'll be able to just begin those conversations. Now I'm going to jump around the rooms, so I will be in your room if you need to ask any questions. If I'm not in the room, please feel free to use, there's a button which kind of requests my help as well. So you can call me to the room if you do have any questions. So I'm going to open those rooms now. We're going to give you about 30 minutes for this activity. So come off mute. You can leave your cameras on depending on bandwidth. And then if you just start adding in that content to the Padlet window, that would be fantastic as well. So I will see you in the rooms in just a moment.
I think they've grouped Google wise.
Kaveri madam, namaste.
Hi. Then how do we go about this? We all have different subjects. Devang sir, what are we supposed to do? We all are from different subject groups.
Hello, Devang sir.
and my Padlet is not opening. It's stuck at SNK International. I can't do anything. Is
Thank you,
yours
Sanjay
opening?
sir. કેમ છો સંજય સર? દેવાંગ from Rhythm Enterprise. સંજય સર તમારો અવાજ નથી આવતો. એકચ્યુઅલી તમે માઇક બી નેટ કનેક્શન ઇશ્યુ છે અથવા તો માઇક નું કંઈક પ્રોબ્લેમ છે. Anyways, you guys can continue. Basically, I'm not a teacher. I'm from Rhythm Enterprise. So I was just looking at this section. How is it going? And just continue whatever your
Devang
activity
sir.
is. Hanji,
Devang
Hanji.
sir. Actually, all of us are from different subject fields, subject areas. And sir said that
Okay.
we are supposed to create something that might be helpful for our subjects. So how do we go about that? I think Sanjay sir has something to say.
Ma'am, Saloni ma'am, this Devang sir is part of Rhythm Enterprise team, not Vadi
All
Devang
right.
sir.
Oh, all
Okay,
right.
okay.
That's right.
Okay.
Right.
Okay.
All right.
No problem. So it is just like Saloni ma'am, आप अपना भी कुछ भी एक सब्जेक्ट सिलेक्ट कर लो, ठीक है? It is not compulsion. This is just for practicing things. Important ये है कि आप किस तरह से iPad यूज करते हो, यूटिलाइज क्या करते हो टेक्नोलॉजी को. You can choose any single subject and do that.
All right. All right. Thank you, sir.
So we have to make presentation or what?
We have
we
to
just
make
have
a
to make
presentation, decide.
no just brainstorm ideas and
Yeah.
how we can take this.
Okay.
We don't have to make anything.
So we are going with which subject?
Maths
We can actually, maths.
or English, it's broader, right?
I was actually going to suggest we can do collaboration sort of a thing where we have. So this is something we have already done. So once if we have, if Sir joins this room, I might tell him about this. Something like a newsletter, which kind of explores everything that they are doing in all subjects. So right now, since it's the three of us from different subjects, maybe we can focus on that, like news.
Yeah.
Hmm.
So that's, I think, it's taking care of English also, because they are going to be presenting it in, they'll be making it in English. Science and maths, they can, of course, talk about the latest happenings, whatever you would want to add to that.
So are we to add things in that Padlet thing, or we are supposed to just discuss it here? Like,
I think
I'm
we are
confused.
supposed to add to the Padlet thing, but I am not able to open it. It's just a blank page as soon as I paste the link.
Okay.
Rupal ma'am is saying something, but ma'am, we're not able to hear you.
Let's discuss how we can take this further. Then whether to be added to the Padlet or not is something we can take it further. But right now, if we can decide on a topic and how we can make it more interesting, creative and collaborative for students is, I think, what exactly we will have to work on. How they can apply, activate, and the three parts of it. So the subject?
So, ma'am, actually, this is what we thought of. Since I'm from English, Kaveri ma'am takes science and Ashit sir takes maths. So we thought of
Okay.
using a sort of a newsletter sort of a thing,
Okay.
which will take care of the language because it's going to be in English. And
Okay.
for maths, maybe if they are presenting some calculations, say for example, Ashit sir, if it's
Yes.
algebra, so if they can
Mhm.
use animation and present that,
Yes.
that you will have to take a call. And science, of course, Kaveri ma'am can take a call. So if you can, present, and English will be taken care of through the presentations. Like maybe in one of their presentations, we can add audio where students record the explanation and introduction sort of a thing. That's what we are thinking, ma'am. What do you think about it?
See, what I feel is just as what he said, he took one example of the solar system.
Yes.
Same way, we will have to take one example. So let us decide, okay, newsletter, yes, but in newsletter, what? What are we expecting? So maybe a template, not actually made, but a template where we are thinking these are the things that can be added.
Right, right.
So let's decide on what.
I think she is stuck. Or I'm
Yes,
stuck.
ma'am. No, I think there was some issue.
There was some connectivity issue. So let us decide on the topic, just as he did the topic of solar system and gave us an example how it can be animated, what all three questions simply he asked, and how voice note can be added. Let us take one example and see what all things we can make the students do in that.
Right.
So probably if it could be an individual newsletter where the child is able to, first of all, pull out maybe this is what I learned for the week, whatever subjects, and then we can ask some intriguing questions through that exploration part. So like an individual sort of a reflection thing for student, and we can use that. So the same thing is provided to each child, and then they can do their own reflection, add some of their own memories through the week or through the month, doing a particular activity, say in maths or science or whatever. Something like that, if you are thinking in terms of a newsletter. But if we are thinking of a topic, say, instead of solar system, we just talk about germination of a seed.
Yeah.
Then probably maybe we gave them a task to grow something, and they record that process and their observation through that, maybe.
I suggest that we take a topic from the subject. That would be more better rather than a
Yes.
newsletter or something, because then it will become very wide. It will
Wide.
become difficult.
To start
for,
with, it becomes
yeah.
wide, yes. Yes.
And all of us have studied math, science, English at that level where we can take a simple topic of class 7, 8 or whatever, and then it's
Yes.
fair enough to go ahead with that.
Sure.
So decide on the topic and we will be, I'm okay with whichever the subject it is, whether English or math or science, whatever. Sanjay sir, anything from your side? Sanjay sir, you are mute. Same way with us is also. Ashit sir, I think you are a math teacher.
Yes. Madam, actually,
Can-
I was thinking, yes, actually, at
Can we
present,
think of something in terms of geometry that would give more idea in terms of figures and drawing the angles and the
Actually, madam, at present, algebra topic is going on. So I was thinking
Okay.
in terms of that, but that is very difficult.
Okay.
That it is a very abstract concept. So I think geometry would be much better. compared to
Because
algebra.
when we want to make them understand maybe lines and angles and these type of
Yes. So,
things, maybe the
so lot,
geometry part and the drawing
yes,
would become more easier using all those shapes and it will be more attractive also.
yes, and more animations can also be added in.
Yes. Sanjay sir.
Maybe we have something related to speed distance time.
Okay. That would be science and maths combined
Sal-
together.
Saloni ma'am, we used to do this with Scratch.
Yes.
And what we can do is, apart from just calculating only speed, distance, and time with respect to our road, okay? Maybe at this speed, if we travel from Earth to Moon, it will take this many light years or days, whatever we can bring in.
I think that is a good idea.
See, whatever we are doing, we will have to have some concrete data also. Okay, so it has to be something where we have some concrete data which we can say that, okay, this is what we will put in, this is how we will go by, this is how we will go by further. Okay, the specific questions as to what do you understand by this, by the end of that topic, what we want as the learning objective from the students. And based on that, the animations and questions can come.
Yes. So, madam, first we need to decide
So
the
let's,
topic.
yes, let's make it simpler. We are doing it for the first time rather than going too much into an collaboration of all the subjects. Let's pick up one subject and do it something which is very simple. Okay, and what I feel is maybe math or science would be much better in doing it, because in language, animations and all may not be other than simply maybe the text running.
Text running. Yes.
Okay, so it could be anything in terms of science, maybe cell, which is easy, where you, have the mitochondria and all those animations which you can draw and
Let's
make
go
them
for geometry only,
identify.
na?
Or let us go for geometry, where we are talking
Basic
about lines,
geometry,
line segments, angles. What is a vertex? What is in that a triangle? How to measure the reflex angle, and so on and so forth. In that, it could be where we can make the students, have animations done and they draw it.
And even in exploration, say once they've learned a circle, now explore and click images of things you see in a circle form.
Yes.
So they can do the implementation, exploration and apply part as well.
Ashit sir, any geometry chapter that you have done, class 7 or 8?
Yes, madam, we have done that quadrilaterals, and grade 7 we have not yet started. It is yet to come. But we can start with the shapes, with quadrilaterals.
Okay.
Triangles, we can start with the triangles. Polygons, actually we can start with the polygons.
Okay.
Basic shape, we can start with triangles.
Fair enough. We can start with triangles, polygons in its standard, right?
Then we can start with the shapes in the increasing order, 3 sides, 4 sides. Then as Kaveri man said, then in the real life, where you can see this type of shapes.
Okay. Further, how? Suppose if we are doing that, or we are doing triangles, what are the questions that we are planning to ask them?
Okay, so what is a triangle? What are the different
Suppose,
parts?
see, what I was thinking, the three,
what are the
maybe
different, what are the different parts you can see in the triangle in your real life? Where you can see
if it could be more abstract to start with, like what is a shape according to you? Then they'll probably define it's just a boundary of a object or something.
Basically, it's a closed figure.
A closed figure. They'll probably put in their answer through an audio or something.
Or maybe if we take circles, we ask them, supposing there is a pizza, small, medium and large, okay, which each has a different rate. So which pizza is the cheapest?
Okay.
The area of the circle will define the whether the pizza is cheapest among the three.
Okay.
No, but in Activate we also have
So
to
what
see, no,
he's
their
saying will
knowledge,
become
how,
the apply part.
yes.
That
Apply
will be
part.
the last stage.
Last
where
Last
they
part.
actually apply.
So in
But
Yes.
first we'll have to
So
activate
next
that
time when they
idea.
go, so next time when they go to Pizza Hut, they will literally calculate the area of the circle
Yes.
and
price.
actually find out
Whether medium is
pri-
better or large
the
is better
Yeah.
better
in terms of cost.
I think
in terms of cost. Yes, ma'am.
in Activate we can give this question, list down the geometrical shapes which have closed geometrical shapes.
Okay.
So we can activate the knowledge by asking this question.
Okay. Are we talking about, see, what you are talking about is all polygons. What Sanjay sir is talking about is circles. And another thing, what I said was only triangles, where we can ask them the different types of triangles based on the measurement of angles, based
Okay.
on sides, and correlation between the side and the angle. That would be something simpler for them and for us to, at this point in time, within half an hour, explain.
Okay.
Okay. Scalene, scalene, equilateral, and isosceles are the three types based on sides. Acute angled, obtuse angled, and right angled based on angles. Okay. So, and drawing the figure and then asking them questions: how many acute angles can be there in a triangle? How many obtuse angles can be there? How many right angles can be there?
Okay.
The exterior angle, something of this type would become easier for drawing and understanding.
Yeah, madam. But first we have to think on that Activate part, no, madam?
Yes. So Activate could be maybe types of triangles based on sides and based on angles.
Yes, that can be one of the question.
Or what are the elements of a triangle, number one, and types of triangles based on sides, types of triangles based on angles.
Yes.
So this could be Activate.
Yes.
So should we start adding to the Padlet the questions?
We can. I am not sure how to do that.
I am unable to. It's just taking me to the SNK page, but I'm not able to do anything.
Okay. Maybe, yesterday you had a meeting. Did they inform anything as to whether we have to add it to the Padlet, or are we supposed to simply discuss and present?
Actually, that meeting, ma'am, I was not informed about it. So I joined very late. So by the time I joined, it was almost over.
Okay.
Let me just try and maybe there's an internet issue. I'll just try again.
Okay.
Ashit sir, you also have Padlet. Will you try?
Yes, I'm trying, madam.
Yes.
Okay, it opened, but then we have to click on that plus in that resources, then example.
You will see the whole bullet in there, sir.
From where did he open?
No, it is given in the link is shared in the chat, but in that it is coming sign up for free or install it. It is
no, sir.
Open the
app you'll already have in the iPad, and you'll have 3 options: login, sign up, and continue as guest. You can continue as guest and just put the link. I'm just trying that, but it's somehow not thing.
same problem I am facing. No, I am not able. sign up or login, only these two options are coming.
Are you getting under that? See, continuous guest is there.
No,
Are you? No.
no.
I'll
Only
just-
two options: sign up and login.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, it opened.
How it opened, madam? Means in that only sign up. Only two options are coming.
Sign up, under that there is a sign in as guest. See, it's written in white. So the first thing is resources. There's a link.
So, ma'am, can you share that?
Sir, actually, I'm not using my iPad. I'm using my laptop.
Oh.
So I'm opened it on my iPad, and it's asking me to sign into my iCloud. Sanjay sir.
हाँ तो करो बिस्मिल्लाह.
Okay, it's taking.
Only you will know the password to your iCloud.
I don't know my password.
Okay, that I can do.
Wait a minute. Wait. Yeah, that. Sorry, sir, I didn't get you. On room number 2. Yes. Yes. Right. I think someone has already added mathematics there. Room 2. Okay, perfect. Okay. Yes. All right. So under mathematics, I'll create another one with activate, explore. So subject is already written. Should I write again?
It will be written, write something beautiful or write something incredible or something of that sort. Where we can put it as.
Sir, Ajit sir, it opened. Ajit sir, it opened, Padlet opened. So I shared it. Yes, I shared it.
Yes, sir. If you are using iPad, perfect.
Are you able to see the screen? All of you are able to see my screen?
Yes, sir.
Yes,
So,
sir.
but in this, yes,
You have like
4 minutes.
minutes.
In
I think.
minutes.
Only 10.
10 more minutes. That's it.
So in this now what we have to do? Make.
Sir, go to that SNK International. You can see that, sir. Third tab.
What tab?
Yes.
Go to room 2. See, this is what others have made. Room 1, room 3, all of them.
I guess we are in room 2.
Yes, we are room 2.
Okay. Yes. 10 minutes is our bottom. Expand post. Yes.
Sir, here we can write down the activation part. Then another one you can just write down the exploration part, and last another you add and write the applied part. Because it will not allow above a certain characters.
I think it's 23 characters.
Yes.
Sir, you are going to someone else's Padlet.
In mathematics, yeah, here, nahi, go back.
Mathematics. 10.
This one.
I
Sir, I
think,
think
you
mathematics will remain. You click on the plus sign.
Yes, you need to create go to plus sign. I think the Padlet number 11 has done that. Room 3. See how they've done.
Yes,
So
now
that's
in
where
this
you write
don't
activate.
do and write subject. Now you can write subject as activate.
And then the questions.
Activate, sir.
Activate,
Maths is
sir.
already there.
Okay. See, here it is there. Okay. Okay, now write next.
You can write the questions here, sir. The activate
Yes.
questions which we were deciding on.
Don't say write the. It's like the elements of the triangle.
Identity.
First of all, elements of the triangle. Second is triangles based types of triangles based on sides and types of triangles based on angles.
Bye.
Okay, this would be the activate part. Then the next is, if you can publish this, I think that is what we will have to do. Then we will be able
Publish.
to go to the next. Then we will be able to go to the next part.
Then add one more plus.
Hi everyone. So just joining in, see how things are going. I can see you're starting to add everything to that Padlet wall based on those conversations. So thank you so much. I noticed you're doing a maths. You've looked at maths topics, specifically around triangles, I take it?
Yes.
Yes.
Fantastic. That's great. So we're going to go back to the main room probably in about 2-3 minutes. you can continue to add things in that time. So
Okay, so activate part now.
we're just going to have everyone sort of feedback just their kind of conversations that were taking place. So just a couple more minutes and then we'll go back to the main room. So thank you so much.
What will we go right in explore?
Photographs of triangular objects around them. Different types, maybe.
Okay. Or maybe with the help of different sized sticks, they can try to form triangles.
Yes, absolutely. Or they can create a sort of a collage where there are different, wherever they see triangular objects around them. There can be different triangles also, like sometimes a pizza slice
Okay.
can be there.
Yeah.
Some
Pizza
building
size
which
would be a sector which we will, but basically areas where they can see triangles.
yes.
Okay, they need to maybe put in photographs.
Yes, sort of photographs, create a collage of those
Okay.
photographs.
But then if they want to answer the questions, okay, we need to have something based on that.
Right.
Exploring types of triangles seen in the day-to-day life, okay. But then further,
We'll have.
yes. Or sir, it could be instead of okay. It could be different types of triangles that we can see. Figures of types of triangles, triangular shapes that we can see in real life, anywhere where we are using.
Session. It was such a privilege to jump around the rooms and listen to the conversation that was taking place, and seeing that now build up on that Padlet wall. I just wanted to say a huge thank you to everybody for really engaging in that activity. One of the groups I went into seemed to be having far too much fun for a work activity. There was lots of smiles, lots of conversation going on, and it was lovely to see how everyone was communicating, even though, you know, the ideal would be we'd all be in the same space for this. But thank you so much. It's really brilliant to be part of this with you all. We just wanted to take a moment really to just give room leaders just a minute or two to just reflect on that process. You can talk about some of the conversations you were having, some of the ideas. But so we're just going to go through each room now. And if room leaders just want to just come off mute, I'm sharing my screen so you've got that to reflect on as well. But just summarize really what was taking place in that room and some of the ideas that you came up with. So room 1, I think we have Jinal.
Yeah. So initially, it was quite difficult for us to decide on which subject should we work on because we had a lot of ideas being poured in the group. Ultimately, we decided upon social science, wherein the topic that we chose was the agricultural process of crop production. So should I talk about all the 3 stages?
Yes, please. Yeah.
All right. So in the activate part, we decided that the teacher would show images of different steps of agriculture, and we let students arrange these in the correct sequence. And the tool that we would use is Keynotes. In the explore stage, we would ask students to visit farms. There they can interact with farmers. They can click photos and videos of the different steps they see of agriculture. Further, they can explain the processes using text or recordings, and the tool would be Pages or Keynotes, whichever they would like to use. The final stage, the students will be asked to create a video of 4 to 5 minutes using iMovies. Here, they'll just culminate the entire process, the journey of crop production, along with their explanation and understanding of the topic. This would be a collaborative task.
That's brilliant. Thank you. And thanks for walking through those as well. And again, simple ideas, right, that just highlight to the students and to the teachers, I guess, those different phases of learning. So that's great. And yes, I think when you have a load of ideas of which subject to do, but that's great. I guess, again, it's great that you have too many ideas than no ideas at all. So again, thank you very much.
Thank you.
And thanks for sharing. Group 2, so Saloni.
All right. So as Gina ma'am stated, we were a combination of science, maths, and English teachers in the group. So we had difficulty coming to common topic. So finally, it was the maths teacher who had to go ahead and take up geometry. So we've taken triangles. So our topic was, so explore part, we talked about how to create different types of triangles based on angles. Create a compound figure using different types of triangles. This is the place where they can use Keynote, or as we saw the animation, so we would want students to use the animations there. For the activate part, we had a lot of ideas here, but these are a few things that we shortlisted. That was elements of different triangles. Again, they can use animations since it's triangles, so and geometry. So that's where we focused on. And types of triangles based on the sides. And that at the end, we thought would be presented through either a collage or a video where they are showing all the triangles, different kinds of triangles around them. So we actually started the discussion with circles, and we wanted pizza somewhere. So we added a pizza slice here. So maybe these are a few things where they see, triangles around them. So that's how we planned the thing.
That's great. And I love that link to the real world as well with the pizza as well, right? It's something that we can recognize and utilize. And I think that's great. So I can see people are still adding to the Padlet as well as we go. This, just to say, the Padlet is yours. The link will stay live. I'm not going to close this down afterwards. It's there for you to kind of take those ideas and share them across as well. So again, thank you so much for sharing some really, really nice ideas there again. Okay, room 3, Manuel.
Hello, may I request Devang sir? Devang sir will chip in. Could you please start?
Go ahead, sir. Go ahead, sir.
Devang, please start.
Manuel, sir, go ahead.
Right. Oh, okay. So we were thinking from different angles because teachers from different streams having come together. So we thought we could take one common topic that appeals, plus everybody would be aware of, and that's the Taj Mahal, the monument, and the aspects to it, but not merely from the history point of view, but take it beyond the languages, the geography, and the history from the significance point of view. So it's not about the monument that is built alone, and therefore give to every learner a different aspect to focus on. Some may focus on the language aspect, maybe in the way they create or compose poems or the prose. The others focus on the significance of it for humanity, the present generation, and how it relates, and not only about a ruler building a mausoleum for his love. The others focus on, another group may focus on the geographical aspect of it, about the landscape and the very fact that there is the river next to it, and how it perhaps affects or does not affect, and how it beautifies. So every classroom could have the differentiated instruction, differentiated points of view that they can focus on. So, and then of course they make a collage of various monuments across the world that they are fond of, and then there is some comparison and contrast to it. So it widens horizon. It's not only restricted to one, but through the technology, through videos, posters, and sharing, collaborative learning, there are different aspects of one particular monument, perhaps applicable also to the others, and generate interest in the other monuments.
Thank you so much. I love how you've taken the fact that you were all from different subjects and backgrounds and tried to merge it all into one. And I think that's a really, really clever way to look at things. And this was the group that I came into that I think was having far too much fun for a training event, because there was lots of smiles, lots of laughter, and it was lovely to see how you were all collaborating. And
thank you
so much. Some great ideas there. And I love the idea of using something which traditionally might be looking at history, but thinking about how you'd use that for language, or could even be art, or all of those things. I think that's such a really, really diverse way of thinking about it. So again, thank you so much for the conversations and for sharing back with us. That's brilliant.
Thank you.
Okay, so room 4, looking at the water cycle. I've lost my screen now as to who was the room leader for this.
Myself, Sridhar.
Oh, hi. Yep. So yeah, over to you.
So our team did not take too long to finalize the topic. Within a couple of minutes, we had a finalized water cycle. Our struggle was collaborating. I mean, we struggled with technology here. We tried. We did not know how to, who will create it and how it will be shared. Finally, we came up with, as I shared with you in the breakout room, we had this session on, and at the same time, we started a Zoom session where we collaborated. And we were not able to take it too far, so we had 2 sessions on in parallel. And but I am sure the group has understood what are the steps involved and how to go ahead. The only challenge we had was how to share work. Finally, we were able to do it on Zoom, and we were able to put up a few things here.
Yeah, I jumped into this group, and this is definitely the problem-solving group of the day. I jumped in and they were like, oh, we're going to have a Zoom meeting going on, and we've got our WebEx meeting going on, and we're going to share keynote presentations across everyone. So there's so much conversation going on about how to solve the problem. And yeah, like the conversation is there, and we can see that you started to think about the water cycle. So again, what you've shown us, I think, is that adaptability, problem solving from the teacher point of view. And if you're demonstrating that, your students are going to be able to demonstrate that, because you're going to model it to them as well. So again, thank you so much. And again, we can see those ideas coming through the water cycle there as well. So thank you.
Thank you.
And then final group, then group 5, Deepti, if you want to share with us around yours as well.
Yes, sir. So we also did not have a lot of time spending on the topic. In fact, we had decided on inflation. Purvi ma'am was there, who was ready to take up the session, like talk about all the points which she needed. So we had more time discussing on how we would present it, how we would put it to the students, and what the students would be doing. So we were more into that kind of a discussion. And then we came up with the way how they will present. So there will be a pages document where they will be recording their data. And then they would show that in the format in the keynote. And after that, once they give the keynote, and here we were talking about how they could animate the graphs, and they could also use a pie chart and show the difference in the, like we're talking about inflation, different products. So they can show it using a pie chart also. So that was something which they will show individually. And in the apply part, we thought of asking them to collaborate and also take interviews of different people, how inflation affected them, and then put that up as a video. So this was something which we were talking more in terms of how we could take this to the classes and how we could take it to the students. And we also had a conversation, like we have an integrated project coming up where the students collaborate, the sciences students, they collaborate physics, chemistry, bio, maths, and they have to create a integrated project for that. So we were now thinking in terms of using this as a thing for the integrated project also. So that was the conversation which we had. So I think we had quite a bit of learning here and how we could use it in our classrooms.
That's great. And again, I love that final idea that you were just mentioning there about how they could interview people, the impact of things. I think that's such a lovely idea. And again, similar to the pizza idea, it makes it real, doesn't it? So, you know, students understand pizza and they understand shapes in the pizza. So we're using that as the stimulus, but equally having interviews with people about the impact of inflation, I think is a really, really nice way to
What happened, Devang sir?
Daniel sir, you are able to hear us? Hello.
No, I think
No.
his bandwidth is low. His
bandwidth is
video,
low.
videos and audio are not coming through.
Okay.
He should be back.
Yeah, I think.
His bandwidth is up. I think he should be back.
Hello.
Anand, you there on the call? I think we lost Matthew somewhere.
Yeah, did we lose him? Yeah, I think he's back
Yes.
again.
Now, yes.
Man, I guess
Yeah,
we
okay.
lost you in between.
Okay. Can you hear me again now?
Yes.
Yes,
clear.
yes.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay. Apologies for that. So yeah, so I was just highlighting that you have the power of the green screen tool, even if you don't have the green screen wall or curtain, etc., to just create something which has that kind of magic reveal. Now again, this could be an activation phase for students where you create something which has that hook, or it could be students using their knowledge. In this example, could be around the human body and naming the bones, etc. But green screen kind of just these, and you can download these on your books, or just have a look at some of the examples within Apple Teacher that can help you come up with ideas for developing those creative ways to support students in the classroom. And that brings us to a close for the session. From me, I just wanted to say a huge thank you to everybody for your participation today. I think there's such a rich resource that you've created within your Padlet wall And like I said, that's going to be available to you to keep building on, to share those ideas amongst each other. Thank you so much for engaging activities today as well. And I hope it's set you on that journey for your next step, where Apple Teacher Portfolio can help you reflect on the impact in your classroom. So thanks for joining in. I hope everybody has a great rest of your day. And I look forward to seeing how this develops over time going forward as well.
On behalf of everybody, I think thank you so much for taking the time, to all your team. And I think we did have a very good session. Not just that, I think we also started talking about that, we could be doing so much more with the iPads and things like that. And so I think this has also taken us to that level. So thank you to all of you. Really.
Thank you, everyone.
Bye.
Thank you so much. Yeah.
Bye.
Good day, everyone.
Yeah, bye. Bye.
Thank you, sir. Bye, sir.
Thank you.
Matthew.
Thank you, sir.